we are ready to party.
They're classy too, man. I can wear this on a date.
People who are most successful are the ones who don't just give up.
Hey, how good are these to-go boxes?
Our to-go boxes, they're not good. They're f***ing amazing. How did we get started here at Albemarle Paper? Well, late 2008, my cousin John and I started this paper company, and we got all sorts of different products.
Hey, Nick, come on, man. Let's get to work.
We got cleaning products, too. You got a party this weekend? We got your back. Anything you need here at APS. Plates, napkins, silverware, table covers. We got everything covered, right, boys? What other items do we carry? Paper towels? I got it. Toilet paper? I got it. Gloves? We got you. Pizza boxes? You're probably wondering, where are we? Where's Albemarle Paper? Don't you worry about that. We got you. I'll bring the product to your door. See you guys.
Hello, and welcome to a new episode of the MLS Corner, the best corner in all of MLS. We've got a packed show today. Excited. We're going to be talking Gold Cup in Charlotte. We're going to be talking about Honduras. 86 out of the 60 minutes today, we'll probably spend 59 minutes talking about Honduras, hopefully. Lee's like, all right, I'm a dip. We're talking about Charlotte FC and Heartbreak FC with a 2-2 draw against Colorado Rapids. We'll also be having a special guest on MLS Gone Wild, Blake, who, he decides to come on whenever he wants. Once he started dropping ports with Brian, he was like, you know what? I don't know. I don't have to show up to anything anymore. So with that said,
about Brian.
for real. All right, Brian, how are you tonight, my man?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm traveling. I'm in Detroit right now, and my hotel lights are flickering in a really haunted way. So you're either going to be treated to me dropping stats about a miserable Charlotte FC start to the season, or a DIY exorcism. We'll find out.
Dang, okay. Hopefully you don't ghost like Charlotte FC in Salt Lake. So, Lee, my man, how are you tonight?
Man, I'm good. I'm excited, man. I was laying on the couch last night about 10 o'clock and realized that I needed to order some cast iron pans. And I'd be damned if they didn't show up at 6 a.m. in the morning. So shout out to Amazon. And I got to use them tonight.
Dang, bro. Unlike Charlotte, Amazon delivers, huh?
That's right.
Dang, I got all the jokes tonight.
I know it, man. You're on something.
All the jokes tonight. So I guess before we head into Charlotte FC, kind of the big news today, Charlotte is hosting the U.S. men's national team for the first time at Bank of America. I know, the fan base is excited. We're going to see a doubleheader. USA, who's USA playing again? I forgot because, I'm so excited about Honduras, Haiti.
Nicaragua.
Yeah, that's right. We'll see USA versus Nicaragua first, and then whoever sticks around, which will probably be 10% of us, will get to witness the best game in history at the bank. Honduras versus Haiti. Two world powerhouses colliding for the first time at Bank of America. So how excited are you, Lee? I mean, none of these countries are your country, but are you planning on going?
It's his country now.
That's right.
Hold on a second. I thought when we went to where did we go when me, you, and Guzman, we went to watch Honduras play?
I forget the name.
I thought I was an honorary. I was.
You are an honorary Honduran.
That's what I was told. So I'm excited that my team
showed
up, man.
To be fair, you went and it was just us angry all the time, so you didn't really get to experience any joy.
No, I did. Was it? It was two Honduran teams, wasn't it? That's where we went. They were playing each other.
About Matthew Sports Play?
Yeah.
Yeah. You saw Olympia versus Motagua.
Yeah, man. And there was fights gonna break out, man. And yeah, man. So I'm more excited about the US game.
For real, bro. You're honorary Hispanic now, so you're Alejandro.
Okay, cool. See.
Nice. And then I just want to hear from everybody in the comments section as well. Are you guys excited? I know all the American fans are excited. All the Mexican fans are upset, right? Because, we put out that Honduras was playing Haiti. So a lot of people assumed that it was going to be a Mexico against whoever else is in our group playing, right? And they all got CONCACAF, right, Brian? You know, in typical CONCACAF fashion, something else happened, and doesn't make sense. Two different groups playing in one stadium. So, give us your thoughts on the Gold Cup, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the biggest win Charlotte has had so far this season. Is that the winning news of the U.S. men's national team coming to Charlotte? Like that's the big news so far this year. To be honest, like I've never seen them play live, like as a club and as a team. So I'm super super pumped to see them play this summer. I mean, is there any more really to say? I mean, it's
exciting.
Thrilled. Yeah.
Jorge, are you gonna wear your DC United and Andy Najar jersey? Low-key, I might take it to the game.
Yeah.
You know?
Sleep with it the night before?
I sleep with it every night.
Do you?
You know, so although if I take it, Lee's gonna give me crap about saying that I support like 15 teams, which I don't. But
14. Close enough.
Nice. So we'll definitely see a packed out bank. And like we mentioned, CONCACAF is in control of the ticket prices. So when you see that tomorrow, I mean, y'all are already slating the club. So do what you want, but just know that it's CONCACAF that's taking they're the ones pricing this game, right? So listen, there's a lot of
what if they come out cheaper than Charlotte FC game?
Then they'll definitely that'll be hilarious. They'll be like,
that's on par for what's happening this season, man.
Huh?
I said that's on par for what's happening this season.
Yeah, bro, the comment sections were brutal as well. And so which I thought
real quick on while we're still talking about the tickets, if you check your email, season ticket holders, you should have a code for early access or something like that. So
tomorrow morning, I think, right?
Mine came out. It's just
wow.
I'm not sure if it was early access or some sort of discount code.
For real. So make sure you check your email. Season ticket holders get access tomorrow. Then I think PSL for Panthers get access Thursday, and then next Tuesday is where they'll be released to the general public. And talking about releasing things to the general public, we're going to release Blake from MLS Gone Wild. My man, how are you tonight? People are asking, where is Blake?
Oh, man.
Who is that guest? Is Blake going to be on the show tonight? They're like, yo, he's got MLS Gone Wild, all these famous guests. He's got dropping points now. Like, he doesn't want to show up, my man, but you're here, man. Fashionably late. How are you?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think I've ever been late to a guest spot before on a podcast, and I apologize greatly. I was trying to do something nice for my fiance, and I was trying to record in her office so she could continue to watch TV in the living room, and there wouldn't be any sound issues, anything like that. And I come in here, and I'm trying to rearrange some stuff, and I spill her coffee that she had from this morning literally all over the desk. So you can imagine how that went. So I had to clean that up. Yeah, but I'm here. I can't wait to talk crew Charlotte with you guys. Happy to be back.
He goes viral one time, and he is full of excuses.
For real.
Man, I haven't switched up. I promise. I haven't switched up on y'all.
Listen, yeah, like speaking from somebody who's went viral before, bro. Stay humble, man.
I'm trying.
Nice, awesome. Well, let's get into it then. I mean, let's talk about Charlotte FC to start things off. I mean, Charlotte with a 2-2 draw this weekend. We saw kind of a lot of the similar things that we saw last year as well, you know, where, you know, the team is doing well. So two things that I saw last year that we do again this year is we have possession, but we don't know what we're doing in the final third, right? Yeah. And then the other thing is we have games in the bag and we let them go, right? Individual mistakes FC this season. Like, how many different FCs have we named Charlotte FC this year? But like that, like I can't think of another team with as many amateur individual mistakes as Charlotte FC this season. And I'm going to start off with you, Lee. Talk to me about this game. What were some of the things that you noticed?
I noticed that Vargas is a baller. I I would say he's about the only one that's bringing any kind of energy to the team. I give Jaws some credit too. He's definitely stepped it up over the last couple of weeks, in my opinion. Scored 2 goals right this season. We're not feeding Capetti at all. That man is coming way back, looking for the ball just to be in the game. And yeah, I mean, Carroll, I think he did all right. I mean, technically, you could kind of give him that assist for that first goal. You know, and then I don't know. It's like you mentioned, it's the individual mistakes. Like, you know, we hadn't made one whole game, and it just happened to be at the 90-something minute. And of course, it had to be the keeper. And it sucks for Marks because I think he's done really well. And I think everybody's going to hang on to that mistake for Kalina to be everybody get behind Kalina now. And let's not forget, Kalina made some howlers last season. So, I mean, you can go back and look at the free kick one, right? I mean, I think that was a lot worse than what Marks did. I think, I mean, Marks could have punched it. He could have caught it. Something happened there. He just mentally turned off for that split second, dropped the ball, and unfortunately it fell at the feet of their player and the score. So I do not hate Kalina. I just think Marks is a better player for us moving forward. I think he's better with his feet. And so
listen, I swear the storylines here at Charlotte write themselves, right? I mean, we saw Kalina with Crown Legacy for the first time this weekend, right? Like kind of getting minutes, getting back. I asked him, like, you know, George is playing good, right? Like, what do you expect? He's like, listen, I don't care. I'm ready to get my spot back, whatever. It's not up to me, right? And he comes out, plays for Crown Legacy, and when George has been doing well, right, he makes a mistake at the last minute that cost the team 2 points.
So this week we're Goalkeeper FC.
Goalkeeper FC. Christmas FC, people have said. Pain FC, all of the FC. Brian, your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I think they needed to be more clinical in the final third in the first half and get themselves a goal and get ahead out of the gate, which they didn't do. Then they fell behind. I do like the one takeaway I did come up with was that, I mean, after falling 1-0, they didn't hang their heads. They got right back to work and found 2 goals and were like maybe the most clinical they had been all season for that short, like 10-minute stretch where they really attacked. And I hate the fact that it had to take a goal for that
seems
kind
to
of
be
wake up
par
call
for
to
the
happen.
course, though, in my opinion. It seems like once we go down a goal, that's when we decide, all right, oh shit, we got a game that we need.
Yeah, that's kind of like classic Charlotte FC.
Yeah.
Hold a lot of possession, terrible in the final third, make some sort of mistake to give the team the momentum back. And then what you just said as well, right? Like, you know, hey, we're down, so like now let's play, right? But you're right. In those 10 minutes, we really saw some of that Charlotte FC from last year, the intensity. I think, like you guys mentioned, one of the most positive things we've had so far out of the few is Kerwin Vargas, right? I mean, he's been very lively. He didn't start from the beginning, right? Every time we saw him, he would come in and make an impact. He's one of those players that will take people on, right? That will shoot. How many times do we beg for players to shoot? And you see it. It's happening with Vargas. He's shooting and he's scoring, right? So, but unfortunately, that George Marks mistake, like, especially when you're a young goalkeeper, like your margin of error when a veteran goalkeeper is coming back is very, very small.
Yeah, but anytime a goalkeeper makes an error, it's just glaringly obvious, right? Because 9 times out of 10, it's a mistake and somebody scores on the opponent that you're right. So
for sure. Blake, did you get a chance to check Charlotte? Maybe some of your thoughts on our team?
Yeah, the MLS season pass, the new deal, all the games being at 7:30. It's been tough for me to watch a lot of Charlotte FC this year. It's been mainly the Crew at 7:30, and then I'll catch some of the 8:30 and then a 10:30 game. So I'll be honest, I haven't watched a whole lot of Charlotte. I know Latanzio is playing with the starting 11 to start the season. Brian was talking about and advocating for Jones to start at the 6, and I believe he started over the weekend. But something I did go back and watch the highlights. I was at a wedding this past weekend, so I definitely didn't watch this weekend, but I looked at the highlights, and I believe it was the first goal when Harrison Offals stepped in kind of centrally as that inverted fullback, and he received the switch pass and his first directional touch forward to beat his man and then create from there was awesome. Vargas's finish was great. Vargas looks like a player that you guys need to really step up, but it was also really good to see Joswiak score his second goal. Absolutely dunked on his defender. You need DPs to produce, and it seems like maybe he's starting to get his legs under him. So
Yeah, I agree. I think that's one of the things I asked at the beginning of the season was like, we need more production from our wingers. And we're seeing it with Vargas. And you know what? You're right. I forgot about Yazviak. We're slowly starting to see, I guess, a better version of Yazviak. And I asked him this weekend too, what is he noticing this season versus last? And, he talked a lot about coming off of an injury last season versus now having a full preseason with this team. And right, like one of the things that we complain about him specifically, right, was like, if you have a DP tag, you have to make a difference. And to me, making the biggest difference is with assists and goals. And we're starting to slowly see that from him, right? Like now, if we could just get Enzo clicking as well, Brian, right, we can maybe go from drawing and losing to, pulling out some results because we've yet to witness a win at the bank.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Vargas and Uzviak seem to starting to build some rapport and they're hugging after every time either one of them scores. They're really seem to be in sync and looking for the switches of play and the crosses to each other in the box, especially from Vargas to Uzviak. They're looking for that ball several times and they've hit on it at least once already this year. And I think whenever Enzo and Carroll can start clicking in that same way, that's when Charlotte's attack, we can just expect it to be more consistent because that's what's missing. I mean, they're just not consistent. They can get to the final third plenty easily. They do it so often. They get high turnovers as well, right? They create counterattacks and then they just get to the final third. And there was even there was a chance in the first half for Enzo where he had the ball at the top of the box and then he just kind of messed with it for a while. And he could have fired it first time. He could have done something was way more decisive with it. And Carroll was in a similar situation as well, where he had the defense in the back foot and he just wasn't quite as decisive and committed to a route of action towards a shot or creating a chance. And that's what both of them have to do. I mean, they paid massive fees for these guys. They have to be able to show that they're clinical in and around the box. And whenever they get the touches in the box, they have to show something decisive with it. I think in the second half, I liked some of what I saw in terms of Capetti holding up the ball and sort of boxing out, especially Abu Bakr. That's another point. Abu Bakr got a yellow card in the first minute and they don't attack him for 90.
Yeah, that's
another huge issue. Why wasn't he being pressed the whole game when he had a center back with a yellow card in the first minute? So that's another sidebar, but and that should be coming from the DPs too. Enzo was on him the whole game. He should have been pressing him and forcing him to make a difficult decision. And I don't think he really took him on until the 75th minute or something like that.
Yeah,
it was really late when he made one good drive along the byline. But I think that those the ruthlessness, especially from Carroll and Enzo when they have the ball, is not quite there.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to also touch on something that Latanzio mentioned in this presser that, to be honest with you, I'm not behind, right? Actually, I should have asked you and then gave my thoughts, right? And I'll ask you, Lee, specifically. One of the things he mentioned was, there's experience lacking in this team, he said. Kalina's been out, Corujo's been out, Westwood's been out, right? And so is that something that you agree with? Do you think experience is missing in this team?
I don't think so much experience. I think we just don't really have that one vocal player out there that's willing to get loud and chew out his teammates, right? I mean, Fuchs last year where he was always hollering at people, right? And just, even I think Bronico could be that guy, but I think he's just not, he just plays his game. You don't really see anybody chatting out. And I think that's one of our biggest issues is just communication out. Right? I mean, it's one thing to harp on Latanzio, and I know that I've been getting killed and trolled all over social on that. But it's I just don't think there's somebody that's will walk up to one of their teammates and look, man, get your shit together, let's play, versus everybody's just kind of sitting back and just kind of being timid about it.
Yeah, and that goes back to also like how Charlotte gave up that first goal. I don't think we've really touched on that one at all. But like Tuiloma and Milanda were both like pretty much on the right side on the byline almost. They were like completely over on the sideline. And then so Nicholson just had a free run from left back into the half space to just drive. And he actually did that like 2 or 3 times in the second half. And I mean, I don't know how you ever should have a situation where you have both of your center backs that far over to one side of the field, and they just both lost each other in terms of where they were positioned, and that's happened. I mean, a plethora of times at this point. It's just where like Tuiloma and Milanda specifically are just their positioning seems super bizarre, and I don't know if it's on Jones to get back in that space, if that's like the plan to be that aggressive and really push the ball on that side or what, but like that has to get straightened out. Like there's just no way that can be the solution to have both your center backs so pushed over onto one side of the field like that.
Right.
All right, let me ask you a question, man. Like you hang around these players enough, right? Out of the starting 11 that started this weekend, like who would you like to see lead the line? Like who would be that your captain? Like it's going to be loud and in your face, and like they all seem to me like off camera or whatever. They seem really kind of just mellow, right?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Like I'm kind of going through the lineup now, and I mean, like, no one really sticks out in terms of like, like when you have teams, like you can notice like we thought Westwood was going to be the guy, right? And maybe he still is, right? But he's not part of this team right now. A Fool's kind of the guy with the experience, but to me, I don't feel like a Fool is a very vocal person that you're going to look for in that leadership. Like, like he gives me more like one of the boys kind of vibe. So it's very difficult. I don't know. I really don't see a player. I would have said if Tuiloma was playing better, then I would have said him because of his experience, but he hasn't been great at Charlotte FC. And that's why the comments that Latanzio made about experience missing, I can't really buy that because, I mean, George really hasn't, like Kalina and George, to me, there's not much of a big difference. Like we haven't felt like George is going to make a mistake at any time, right? Outside of this weekend where he made his mistake, obviously, right? Maybe we're definitely missing Coruja in that back line for sure, right? We're missing that experience.
No doubt about that. I mean, yeah. I just don't think
the answer to your question that was long-winded is there's nobody that sticks out to me.
And I think that's our problem overall. I think we don't have any communication on the pitch. And I think that is where we're suffering versus, we could go into tactics and all that as well. But if we're just going to talk about last week's game against Colorado, it's definitely a communication issue.
Yeah, but it's also, I mean, you also have to touch on like player personnel versus the style we want to play, right? Do we have the proper players to try to play how Latanzio wants us to play? And I mean, that's something I want to get into a little bit as well. I mean, we've won 1 win in 8 games. Like, what's going wrong with Charlotte, right? And Brian, do you want to touch on that? And everybody in the comment section as well, mention what you guys think is going wrong with Charlotte.
I mean, I do think they have been, Latanzio to some extent has been forced to play. Oh, well, no, not really forced, because he chose to play that younger squad against RSL, and that really bit him. Where like he didn't have to go that way. He could have stuck with like what was kind of working in Jones and stuff like that. And so I think to that regard, Latanzio has made some pivotal mistakes early, experimenting with Bronico at left back for like kind of seemingly no reason when they had other options there.
Right.
That was completely unnecessary. And then going with that aggressive of a midfield lineup, I mean, against RSL, I think is another prime example. I wouldn't say during the last, so while they've lost only won in 8, if you look at the last 5, they've only lost 1 in their last 5. Now, they also haven't been great. They haven't produced the results that I think fans should expect. But of late, they haven't gotten completely played off, and they have been able to stay. They've been able to keep the games close outside of the RSL game, which I think is that one was absolutely on Latanzio. He played the wrong lineup. He played the wrong midfield in that game for sure.
Josh was mentioning Byrne at center back.
Yep, that's another example.
Right wing.
Yeah, so there's been a little bit of tinkering that didn't seem quite necessary, right? He had a midfield that has been undefeated in Jones, Bronico, and Swiderski, and when push came to shove, when he had to try to get some points and try to get a result, that's what he went with, and they had the win in the bag, right? They had it. I honestly don't and he also went back to the back five, which is something else he did last year with success, to fight for points on the road against Columbus. On the road, he got the point, and they held that onto that point. And he did that several other times where they were able to hold points on the road, start to just collect points here and there by going to a back five and staying more stable, or at least attempting to. I don't think they were all that stable still in this game, but those are the things that Lattanzio used to success last year. And he got away from that this year for really seemingly no reason. It's the same personnel group. So he just decided to change things up.
If anything, and that's where I see why the fan base is angry. You got upgrades in pretty much every position, right? Theoretically you should be playing better, and we don't look any better than we did last year, right? And
Worse.
Yeah, we definitely look worse. The thing about Lattanzio, right? He's not afraid to experiment, but the problem is these experiments aren't working, right? And I want your guys' thoughts on maybe some of the subs. We saw him change to a back five to kind of get away with the result, right? Hey, 2-1, let's close shop. Let's get this result. We need a dub at home, right? Was that the right decision? And I'll start off with you, Lee.
With me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say no at this point, right? I mean, personally, though, I'm a firm believer. We could have killed that game off, gone up 3-1 or something, right? And then, made the changes. I think he mentioned in his presser that sorry, I got distracted by the comment. So I know he, in his presser, he mentioned somebody got injured there towards the end, right? And that's why he took him off, and then they're talking about tired legs and that sort of thing. And that he saw some pressing, I believe he said, from their right side down our left side, right? So that was what he was trying to counter attack or, stop. But I don't know. I think if we're 2-1 up, and I felt like we were still in control of the game at that point, right? I mean, I think we should have just gone in and just, tried to kill it off. And then maybe in the 85th minute, that's when you start playing that clock game, right? Start wearing it down, making your subs then and that sort of thing. But again, I mean, it's easy to say that for sitting here.
Yeah. If I'm playing devil's advocate, right, Brian, I mean, theoretically, it was working until an individual mistake happened, right? If they would have gotten away with it, none of us would be, at least I don't think, would be complaining, right? That because at the end of the day, they needed the result. You're a coach under pressure. You're going to want to get the result. And we saw him do some of these things last year as well, right? Kind of try to close up shop to get games through.
Yeah, and it worked last year. And I mean, I think to his point, to Lattanzio's point, it was set up to succeed. They had it down until the blunder by Marks. And I thought because my biggest question before rewatching the game was whether or not the back five then invited pressure from Colorado, or if Colorado had indeed started pressuring more and then he switched to a back five, because that was what Lattanzio said. And actually, no, there was Brian Acosta had at least one shot off the bar before he made the subs, and Nicholson had been driving into the half space from the left back position into the half space where he had gotten the assist already, and he had gotten at least one or two more opportunities to push forward, and he also launched one right over the bar. So there were a couple opportunities that Colorado had made before he actually ended up making those subs, that made me see there was definitely more pressure than I think. For me, after Charlotte had just gotten 2 goals, I was not super thrilled about that they had gotten the game back in their control, taken the lead, and then kind of invited some pressure for when they could have really that's when they should have pushed, was before he made the subs in that 68th to 75th minute, to be we just took the lead on you at home, now we're killing the game off. And so I think honestly, in that stretch of time when they didn't show to do that, and instead they were inviting pressure and inviting shots from Colorado, I think is when, for me, I think actually I side with Lattanzio in that. When I rewatched it, and I was oh no, they were definitely eating a few shots, and they took one off the bar for sure. Brian Acosta had a really good chance, and so at that point, I don't mind him making an adjustment, because it's I mean, you can't give up. You if you have a way to try to stop it and stop the bleeding, and realize hey, they're not going to kill this game off for me, ice it and try to ice it. And I mean, And the back five wasn't super solid. They haven't been solid defensively all year, but they had it in the back. They had a 2-1. They had a 2-1 there.
Nice. Awesome. Well, unlike Charlotte, Columbus is having a good season. Really unbeaten in the last 4, I believe. You know, they destroyed Atlanta a couple of weeks ago, 6-1. Talk to us about the Crew, and they're 4th in the Eastern Conference right now, correct?
That is correct. And that last conversation that you guys were just having about dropping points late in games is like the perfect segue into Columbus. Columbus 2022. If you guys remember, that was what Columbus was known for last year. Caleb Porter making subs, bunkering up a goal or tied. And then the Columbus Crew were just leaking goals late in games, giving up those late leads and dropping points. It happened to you guys against Andre Shinyashiki scored late in the second game in Charlotte, the makeup game because of the rain date that I was at. So that was what Columbus was known for last year. This year, it's a completely different narrative in Columbus. Wilfred Nancy coming in from CF Montreal, and he has completely changed this team, changed the belief, changed the mentality, changed the tactics, changed everything. And the Columbus Crew are reaping the benefits early in the season, have scored the second most goals in all of MLS, and are flying high right now, man.
Yeah, so we're getting probably one of the best versions of Columbus coming to Charlotte, correct?
Yeah, and probably no Eloy Room and probably no Cucho, and we're still doing what we're doing.
Right.
That means we're going to win.
I don't know about that, Lee.
Yeah, and I want to ask this question to you guys, right? Like, how much pressure does Lattanzio get? He's already feeling the heat, right? I mean, if they lose this weekend, how much pressure? How much do you see the club heading into the direction of like we need to find a new coach? Because in my opinion, he still has that locker room, right? And as long as the players are behind you, you still have a degree of, confidence from your team. I mean, the fan base plays an important role, don't get me wrong, but I think when the players are still tied to you and believe in you and think they can turn things around, it can happen. Unfortunately, we haven't seen anything that suggests that they can turn it around so far, right? So, Brian, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think he still has I think on Uzviak's goal specifically, you saw that he still had the locker room. I think in that moment, you can see that the team went to celebrate with him that they had gotten the lead at home and found a way to come back from the pressure that they obviously were all feeling and facing after giving up the first goal. And coming back and getting that lead that quickly and hugging him and being around, like just as a group, as a team, I think is an important acknowledgement of where the team, or at least many of the players that are getting minutes right now, and many of the players that are on the field are feeling about Lattanzio specifically. I think also the way Bronico has acted in press conferences also, he's been very adamant. And every time he's talked to the media about like where the team is at in terms of their responsibility for the games and the performances and the results, which are in line with what Lattanzio is saying. So I don't see that lack of alignment yet. So I think he definitely still is going to be favored for at least a little bit of time. Now, if it's another 8 games and we're still having this discussion and we're not seeing a ton of improvement, then maybe at that point, halfway through the year, we start to think about it. But I actually just looked up a pretty insane stat today on Jim Curtin. His first 3 years, the amount of points he got was 37, 42, and then 42. Now, that's not to say that we should just accept that kind of mediocrity from Lattanzio. But what I'm saying is just jumping ship early when there clearly seems to be some chemistry within the group. If you jump ship too early, you might be missing something that could end up being far better down the road. You just have to find that balance. But whenever that happens, and the team whenever the team they just have to find where that point is, where that breaking point is, and where they have to change direction. Because once they do, the season's a wrap, right? If you change coaches mid-season, the chance that you have a successful campaign is just almost nil. So,
right. And the beauty of MLS too, we're 3-4 points off of a playoff spot.
Yep.
Right. So, this is where my thing is if they fail to finish to get into the one of 9 out of 14, 15 spots that give you a playoff, like it's a total failure of the season, and a lot of changes need to happen, right? Because that goes to the front office, that goes to the head coach, that they failed to put out a team that over half of the teams qualify to the playoffs, and you can't put a product out there that gets you one of those playoff spots. Lee, Anzio, Brandt, these guys are asking us to be patient, right? They're asking the fan base to be patient, that there's still a long season ahead. But in my opinion, there hasn't been a game where we've totally dominated, a game that shows us that we need to have this patience, right? Talk to us about what you've seen so far and how much more patience does the fan base need to have to see things turn around.
Man, I don't know. I mean, again, I've been dragged all over social because I won't commit to in or out for Tanzio. I don't think now's the best time to let him go. Definitely. I mean, we're not playing well, right? We're all saying like the team's just playing lackluster. We look like crap. But other than that real Salt Lake game, we basically we haven't lost in 4 or 5 games, right? And it's sad to say that, right? As an excuse. I mean, we're not winning. Obviously, we want the 3 points, but we also are not losing other than that real Salt Lake game, which was a kick in the face for sure. So, the questions become, and I believe somebody said it in the comments, right? I mean, we let him go. Who's coming in, right? Are we just going to go look at the bench and get somebody like Fuchs or somebody? I mean, Crown Legacy guy, he's not coming up, right? I mean, I think he just needs to stay down there and handle that. I mean, who's available? Greg, he's not coming to Charlotte, right? It's just, who do we get?
Brendan Rodgers, bro. Let's get Brendan Rodgers.
Oh, y'all can have him that way. He won't go to Spurs. But anyways, yeah, sorry about that. But no, I mean, it's like a big cruise ship right now. It's the way I see it. It's turning, but it's so damn slow. And then at some point, we're gonna be like, oh shit, we turn it around, and hopefully we got some points. I don't know. So, I mean, personally, I don't think. I mean, the good thing about MLS, or the bad thing, depending on where you stand, is there is no relegation promotion. So, worst case, we just ride this damn season out. And get it together.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't like even like the Jim Curtin stat. Like, I get it, but also, you know what I'm saying? Like, this fan base deserves better. And
I'm still the same players if you fired the coach.
I'm happy that the fan base is angry at this.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'm just too. I want a winning team. I want us to be in the playoffs. I want us to talk shit to Atlanta or Miami.
Look at St. Louis. They're doing it right, bro. It's very annoying to watch.
It is. Because, again, it goes back to what we always say. It's always like it's that kid that you just know that can do better, but for some reason he's only getting D's and F's, right? And it's like, my God, man, you can get a B or a C. But anyways, I mean, if we fire Latanzio, it's still the same same set of players, right? I mean, do we give him the transfer window? Do we allow, Zorn and them to get together, figure out, hey, these are the players we need, drop some bucks, get rid of some players. I mean, we don't have any depth either.
Yeah.
So it's.
I mean, and the excuse of Miguel is gone, and some of these are his players. That's
gone too.
That's done, right? Like, this is your team. You guys are building this. Right, so the product on the pitch is determined by you guys now, not what happened in the past. Right, so
yeah,
Blake, man.
Yeah, let me interject. I don't think that win, lose, or draw against Columbus this weekend, I don't think Latanzio's fired. I do think it is valid that you guys are having this conversation. I remember Crew fans having a very similar conversation last year after we lost to Detroit City in the U.S. Open Cup. We got knocked out in our very first game. And I remember hosting a Twitter Spaces afterwards. I'm like, okay, guys, Caleb Porter in, Caleb Porter out. And we had the same exact conversation. Like, what good does it do right now to fire him when we still have the same players? Nothing is really going to change. We rode him out through the end of the year. We were literally in contention for the playoffs until decision day. And then we lost on we gave up a lead on decision day and we got knocked out of the playoffs, didn't make the playoffs. And then we fired Caleb Porter. So, regardless if Latanzio is there or not, I think Charlotte is probably a team that's going to compete right along that playoff line, that cusp of making the playoffs or not making the playoffs all season long, and it's fine margins. And I think that also the inexperience thing. So I don't think he's going to get fired. You guys were talking about inexperience earlier, and now that we're kind of into the Crew segment, the Crew aren't an experienced team either. the Crew are playing with a bunch of guys from MLS Next Pro. The MLS Next Pro goalkeeper of the year last year, Patrick Schulte, Farsi at right wing back, Sands at left wing back, Quentin. He was the starting center back for the MLS Next Pro team last year. He was starting at the beginning of the season. Jason Russell Rose getting a lot of minutes. So we don't have a lot of experience, but what we got is an improved coach, a coach that is, allowing the environment to be fun, free flowing, and has infused this team full of life and tactics and just having fun playing football. And so experience doesn't matter, but gaining experience playing together and having fun while you're doing it and just having tactics and a team that works well within that system are so important. And I think that's what's kind of lacking in Charlotte. And that's where the Crew still aren't experienced. I think that we have the right players to play within the system and can do exactly what Nancy is asking them to do.
Right, which I think is kind of opposite of what we see with Charlotte. I mean, there's still some personnel issues that we need to continue to address, and we haven't, right?
Right.
I definitely think some of the players that we've gotten, right, and I mean that falls back on, again, the front office and the technical staff for not doing the right job of bringing the players that we need for the type of system that we want to play, right? And so, Blake, talk to us more about Columbus. Who are some players that we need to watch out for, and what does Charlotte have to watch out for this weekend with a team that's coming in hot?
Man, the Columbus Crew have been so good to start the season. You guys have talked a lot of Charlotte. I'm going to talk a lot of Crew now. I started talking about the defense, mainly those MLS Next Pro guys that have been promoted to the first team this year. Patrick Schulte has taken the place of Eloy Room after Eloy gave up like 7 goals to Lionel Messi about a month ago in international play. Patrick Schulte is kind of taken over. He had the most saves in all of MLS last week with 8 saves. He had an absolutely phenomenal week. Two straight clean sheets, and he's been so good. And he has allowed Columbus Crew fans and even the coaching staff to have the conversation. It's like, well, when Eloy Room comes back, what do we do with Patrick Schulte? Is he a starter? Because I think he's earned it. So we also have a young guy, just like you guys do, in George Marks, that's, kind of earned the spot. George Marks is, he struggled last week, but I don't think you give up on the kid yet either. But it's nice to have that goalkeeping competition. And then just we've completely switched formations with the Columbus Crew, right? Like we were 4-2-3-1 till I die under Caleb Porter, even dating back to Greg Berhalter 4-2-3-1. Like I was so used to that. And over the past few years, I've been talking about the Columbus Crew having those predictable patterns of play. And it was just kind of slow and methodical, and it just wasn't fun. It wasn't intentional going forward. The Columbus Crew this year are very intentional going forward. We're attacking out of like a 2-3-5 with our 2 center backs, Viacia and Deganek, playing that back line of 2. And then Steve Moreira, he's playing that inverted fullback role. Even though he's that 3rd center back, he's stepping up into the midfield to assist with Darlington Nagbe and Aiden Morris, who are both playing in more advanced roles. So he's kind of sitting deeper almost as like a right-sided 6, which is nice. He's providing that balance there and allowing Farsi to get further up the field. And that's a nice little wrinkle. And then our fullbacks have just been unbelievable this year. 2 guys that were mainly MLS Next Pro guys last year, in Mo Farsi and Will Sands. Will Sands probably played 500 first-team minutes last year. And those guys, I put up a tweet today actually from Opta Analytics, and the Columbus Crew are the only team in MLS to hold majority possession in the 6 zones on the flanks. And then all the way down the field in the 12 zones from the defensive half to the offensive half, the Columbus Crew hold majority possession in 10 of those 12 zones. So the Columbus Crew wingbacks are getting up and down the pitch. And those are 2 guys that were MLS Next Pro guys last year. They're doing the exact job that Wilfred Nancy is asking them to do, and they're doing it phenomenally. They're providing good service from wide areas. They're combining well with Matan and Zelarayan and the overloads, and then they're getting back on defense, and they're doing a hell of a job.
So,
and then I can keep going. I'll keep going because our midfield has been phenomenal as well. You guys all know I'm a huge Aiden Morris guy. Aiden Morris is probably going to get hopefully at least 45 minutes tomorrow against Mexico, but he's already got 3 goals in the first 8 weeks of the season. He had never scored before a couple weeks ago for the Columbus Crew in his MLS career. And Wilfred Nancy, with the system we're playing, we're playing with such a high back line that's just pushing Aiden Morris and Darlington Nagbe, who are more of, traditional sixes, deep line playmaker type players. And Aiden Morris and Darlington Nagbe are facilitating things at the top of the 18 and zone 14, making those late arriving runs into the box. And Aiden Morris looks like a completely different player under Wilfred Nancy than he did with Caleb Porter. And then the last guy that I really want to touch on, like I've talked to you guys about Lucas Zelarian before, but a player that's playing alongside Lucas Zelarian that's been just light years better. He feels like a new signing, even though he isn't a new signing. He was with the crew. He's been with the crew for 2 or 3 years. He's a U22 guy, got sent out on loan last year because Caleb Porter just didn't favor him. It is Alexandre Matan. Alexandre Matan was kind of signed to be a center attacking mid for this team and kind of just like a depth piece behind Lucas Zelarian. But Matan has never really been a guy that's been able to do the job by himself in front of the 2 defensive midfielders. He's always he's needed another guy. So like in the past, he played left wing, but he kind of played as an inverted winger and he would come inside and play with Lucas. And now with Wilfred Nancy, they play a 2 center attacking mid system. And those guys are just feeding off of each other. Matan primarily on the right, Lucas Zelarian primarily on the left. Their main focus right now, or their main duty, their main role in this team is kind of, linking up with those wing backs, creating those overloads, moving the ball side to side, and then sitting in those pockets and half spaces and finding those chances. And both of them have been creative. Their interchange has been awesome, and they've been facilitating everything through the middle. And one thing that Wilfred Nancy has always been known for, especially with the Georgi Mihailovic, Ishmael Kone, is coaching guys up. And I've named 4, 5, 6 MLS Next Pro guys that, most coaches and most teams be like, why are we signing MLS Next Pro guys? And why are they going to be playing all these minutes? Or a guy like Aiden Morris or Alexandre Matan, who was out on loan for 6 months last year. All of those guys are overperforming what was expected of them. And all of that is because of Wilfred Nancy.
Yeah, man. I mean, I was just going to touch that. I'm a huge fan of your coach, bro. I mean, we saw him last year with Montreal and what he did there, doing some similar things at Columbus as well. I mean, even having said all of that, Blake, and I'll transition over to Brian and Lee. I mean, last year we saw a team chasing Supporter Shield in Philadelphia Union come to Charlotte. And this is the beauty about MLS, right? Anything can be. Expect the unexpected, right?
Oh, you're trying to say it's a trap game.
Right? And they came and they got cooked. Our boy Rios with 4 goals, the first hat trick, first poker for the team, right? So, I mean, this is the one thing that, like, I feel like differentiates MLS from a lot of other leagues, right? For example, the Prem, where Arsenal slowly losing that title, but we won't get into that. Where do you see, Brian, Charlotte pulling a result this weekend?
I mean, they have to find a way to contain Columbus. I think one other thing that Blake didn't mention about Columbus specifically is the amount of times they crash numbers into the box is just kind of absurd. It's a volume. They've put 6 or 7 players you'll see in the scoring area in the box just on possession, not on set pieces, just on possession of the field. And it's absurd to see that many numbers in and around the box. Charlotte tend to have 2 or 3. And it's at least half those numbers. And so I think finding a way for Charlotte to absorb that pressure, which has been difficult this year, they have to find a way to absorb some pressure because they're going to suffer in this game. There's no doubt about it. There's no way Columbus doesn't maintain possession for stretches of time and probably put up some scoring chances. They just have too many players that are playing well in multiple areas. Jones absolutely has to play. And so does Bronico, probably, to hang on to that midfield between Nagbe and Morris, because they might be, especially with how Morris has started this year, maybe the best midfield duo in MLS. I mean, around that, I mean, they're getting there. They're getting there. Blake's laughing out. I mean, they're coming along.
Somebody said trap game, and now it went from Blake predicting Charlotte winning 2-1 to now it's Blake calling this a trap game. It's always whatever.
Exactly. but that's the flip side, right? So then it is a road game for Columbus in MLS, which we just saw Cincinnati hit the road, lose 5-1 against St. Louis, right? They were the supporters. They had the most points in MLS, I'm pretty sure, last week. They were right up there. Seattle, right near the top of the Western Conference, lose 4-1 to Portland, who have been devastated by injuries. But it's a rivalry game, and they were on the road against Portland. And that's just how the momentum can shift from a moment. right? It was like a bicycle kick goal in Portland, and it changed the whole outcome of that game. So I think what Charlotte needs to do, and it would be huge if they could find it in the first half, is find that moment that ignites the crowd and silences some of the excitement that Columbus will likely try to come in with. And if Charlotte can take that moment and bring the crowd in, especially early, which is what they lost last week, I think that's a huge key. And I feel like I've mentioned that almost every time at home, but they have to find some excitement and some just like energy in that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and I'll throw it over to Lee. I mean, one of the I think also, I mean, you get a result against Columbus Crew,
Yeah.
a good win, a win that's convincing, right? You know, you could start turning the tide around. Like, it's not too late, right? Like we mentioned, we're 3 or 4 points off of a playoff spot, right? Lee, how do we prevent Charlotte from not being Christmas FC? What does this team need to do to not give away simple, basic amateur league goals?
Well, I think every player in the team right now is giving one away, right? So that means, all right, everybody's even. So now it's all at the system. Let's play, right? I don't know, like you were saying, like some crazy results in the MLS last weekend for sure. I mean, we could call it a trap game for Columbus for sure. I mean, you know, we were confident going into up to Utah, right? That we were going to win. They were on a 4-game losing streak, blah, blah, blah. You know, again, football's football and anything can happen on the day, right? There's no one that can say for sure what's going to happen. But I think if Charlotte can come out, score early enough, like, you know, 25th minute, go 1 up, hold on to the lead till halftime, and hopefully not come out flat during the halftime, I think we'll have a good shot. However, personally, I don't think we're going to win. But on the flip side of that is if we do win, we got DC away, next week? And that's possible 6 points if we can beat Columbus, right? So and then that would be huge. That would be huge for the team, the spirit, the city. I don't know though.
Yeah, man. I mean, we need that. I think that's I think if things are going well and the crowd gets behind us, all of a sudden the bank becomes a more difficult place to play in. Right?
I will say this weekend was probably the most fun I've had in the supporter section this season.
Right, and that you saw that
even when we went 1 down, it was still hype.
God, that's great. I mean, and we saw it even more. We saw that shift with Vargas's goal, right?
Yep.
All of a sudden, the team looked more alive. All of a sudden, honestly, it was that tweet I sent out, you know, and so we'll call it the top bin 90 effect. I was like, it's minute 60. It's been 330 minutes since Charlotte has scored at the bank. And lo and behold, 6 minutes later, they put 2 goals.
Yeah, but what happened when you tweeted when we went 1 up against Salt Lake?
That's what I'm saying. It's called the
I thought you were talking about this weekend.
So, right. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, obviously, I think that's kind of my glimmer of hope, right? It is MLS at the end of the day, and anything can happen. And hopefully, I mean, the players need a W, the coach needs a W, the fan base needs a W, to be honest with you, because they're only going to support the way they support. And this is where you see man, it's very telling that over 30,000 people are still showing up at the bank with the type of product that Charlotte is producing right now, right? So imagine if we were good, how much better it would be.
I have 33,000 because I believe that's the max.
For sure. And so I want to answer some questions as well here that we've gotten so far. Blake, are you coming to Charlotte for the game this weekend?
Unfortunately not, guys. Like I said, I had a big weekend last weekend with the wedding, and just a lot of stuff has been going on personally. So I will not be making the trip to Charlotte. I'll be there in spirit. And I agree with what you guys have been saying. The fans of Charlotte FC are phenomenal. I enjoy talking and interacting with everybody. You guys deserve better, but not this weekend.
I love that. I love that. Jorge, what's the scope on Andre? When we asked Latanzio about Andre Nuno, he gave us a very stern answer on that. We'll definitely see if those guys are there at the next training session, right? You know, we'll also follow up to see if Corujo is going to be there, right? Because he went to Uruguay to get his green card. He's slowly getting there. Obviously, it'll be interesting to see if he goes with Kalina this weekend or Marks as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of question marks right now in this team. and we'll get into one of my favorite parts of the night: score predictions. And we'll start off with you, Blake, who've consistently had Charlotte FC winning. I believe in the last couple of times that we've invited you on the show, and I want to hear from everybody in the comment section as well. Right? Let's hear those score predictions.
So yeah, I think the Columbus Crew are going to win. I will start off by saying that I think the Columbus Crew will be lucky to get out of Charlotte with a shutout. We've had 2 straight clean sheets with Patrick Schulte in goal. Having 3 straight clean sheets is a super tough thing to do in Major League Soccer. So I don't think we get out of there unscathed. Like I said earlier, the Columbus Crew play with a really high back line, and I could see the Columbus Crew getting beat in transition in one of those moments with everybody else high and kind of Deganek and Valencia back there. We could just get beat in transition. So I see the Columbus Crew giving up a goal, but I also see the Crew putting up a few goals as well. I think the Columbus Crew win this game 3 or 4-1.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, if I was in your position, I would think the same thing. This is a good point Hubbalikes makes as well, right? Like when we talked about this afterwards, right? Like Latanzio mentioning that he didn't want to talk about players in the squad. But then the first thing he talked about was Corujo, Kalina, and Westwood missing, right? And missing the experience. So which one is it, right? But anyways, right? We'll go next to you.
Depends on the reporter.
Yeah.
Lee, give us your score prediction.
I we're not winning this one, man. It's going to be 2 or 3-1 to the other guys.
Dang, bro. Yo, you said last weekend we were going to lose too, didn't you?
I did.
Dang, bro.
Yeah, anytime I say we're going to win, we lose. So I'm just going to keep going with it. I mean, screw it. Worst case, maybe I need to predict a draw or something, right? And then maybe that's what I need.
Well, when you're saying we're losing, we're at least getting a point. So that's good, right?
Welcome.
So, Brian, my man, talk to us about this Charlotte FC game, bro. Are we going to win this? Are we going to lose? Are we going to get destroyed? Will we see George Marks clear the ball, hit the back of Enzo, and go in the net? Like, what will we see this weekend? What will – honestly, if I saw that, I wouldn't even be surprised. I'd be like, yep, right on brand. What's going on, right?
Well, I definitely think there's going to be some wildness in this game based on how aggressive Columbus is and based on how kind of sporadic and inconsistent Charlotte are. So I definitely think there's going to be goals for both sides. Charlotte are starting to find finishes at home, and they also haven't kept a clean sheet this year. So there's going to be goals. I'm predicting a 3-3 draw.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just expecting an absolute goal fest. There's just going to be just a mayhem out there, to be honest. Like, because I think Charlotte's going to be able to score against Columbus as well. But I mean, there's no way Charlotte don't give up goals against Columbus. It would be just outrageous if George Marks were to get his first clean sheet against Columbus. I can't see that happening. But yeah, 3-3. Let's go.
3-3.
Yeah.
What are you drinking up there while you're on the road, man? I'm starting to worry about you.
Yeah.
3-3.
I agree with Joshua here, where it looks like at least we're like getting better in the attack. I mean, we're getting more production from our wingers, right? I'm saying it right here. Clip this, save this, remember this MLS Corner Live, right? This weekend starts the momentum shift for Charlotte FC. We're going to have a convincing win. We're going to win 3-1 against Columbus Crew at home, right? And it's going to shift the momentum of this team. The next 5-6 games, we're going to see a great Charlotte FC position themselves from being one of the worst teams in MLS right now to up and coming, to solidifying themselves in playoff spots. This is the weekend that it turns around. 3-1.
We need you to hurry up with that, man, because you can only clip it so long and put it on Twitter. So, we were
I sent Jorge a box of what I'm drinking and doubled it.
Yeah, it's got to be the hats. It's got to be the hats.
Almost like double it and give it to the next person. Nice. With that, Brian, my man, where can we find you at?
Yeah, y'all can find me on Twitter at Bam Mauer Media. You can also find all my written content at topin90.com. And you can find me and Blake at Dropping Points. Yeah, if you want to hear him talk not so highly about soccer sometimes, because right now Columbus Crew are just on another level. But there's a time when we talk about just banter, everything that kind of went wrong in our fantasy week. So check out that show as well.
Nice. Lima, man, where can we find you at?
On all the socials at COTFC Fan TV. We dropped the fans interviews today over on our YouTube. We'll be doing our live show tomorrow night at 9. And if you want to get interviewed after the game Saturday, come find us outside the supporters entrance.
For sure. I mean, how were those fan interviews? I haven't gotten a chance to watch them, but I'm excited.
They're hit and miss. I mean, you can start to hear the Latanzio out rumblings, some people were pissed about the subs, others, not so much. People, but at the end of the day, it's like we talked to them off camera or whatever. They're still going to come back. So Tepper, your money's safe.
Dave's money is definitely safe for now, right? And so, my man Blake, where can we find you at?
MLS Gone Wild at MLS Gone Wild on all your social media sites. Very active on Twitter. You can find me there. You can also find Brian and I, like he said, at Dropping Points. It's an MLS fantasy podcast. If you guys haven't listened or aren't listening, you're missing out. You guys probably aren't competitive in MLS fantasy, okay? Only those people that listen to this podcast are competitive, and they don't drop points because of us, Brian. Well, at least that's the goal. But yeah, guys, that's where you can find me. I've been a little bit quiet on the MLS Gone Wild podcast front. It's a little tough getting player interviews right now, so you guys are just kind of hearing me on Dropping Points, but I'll be back with an MLS Gone Wild podcast ASAP.
For sure. I mean, those are always great. The questions you ask and the quality of guests that you have, they're always great. So, I mean, you're doing some great stuff for MLS in general, right? Outside of being a Crew fan, which we love, right? And you know where you can find us at TopBin90 on all our socials. Don't forget, Charlotte FC game Saturday, Crown Legacy FC game Sunday, Charlotte Independence game tomorrow and Saturday as well. There's no lack of footy here in this city, which is a soccer city, right? Like Charlotte is a soccer city. You see it. We've got 3 teams, right? We've got multiple stuff happening here. We've got Gold Cups coming here. With that said, everybody have a great night. Thank you for coming on. This has been another episode of the MLS Corner. Get